Hello everyone and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to hand clean your CPAP equipment using some basic cleaning tools so that your CPAP equipment stays fresh, clean, and sanitary. So before we do our cleaning, we want to make sure that we have the appropriate supplies such as Dawn or equivalent dishwashing liquid. It'd be nice if you guys also had some baby wipes, or in my case here, I've got some CPAP cleaning wipes, as well as a CPAP hose cleaning brush that you can actually use to scrub out the inside of the hose. And if you don't have one, it's okay. This is just an extra step that I like to do, as well as some cloths for drying all the equipment once you're done cleaning it. Now, if you guys are interested in any of these products, I've included the links below in the description. Now, I'm going to be using our kitchen sink here to clean our CPAP equipment, but before doing so, I want to make sure that I scrub down the inside of the sink thoroughly. Now, for those that are very paranoid, you can even wipe the inside of the sink down with a little bit of liquid bleach to sanitize it. Now, while that's filling, we can go ahead and start placing our parts into the sink. Now I want to point out here that on the ResMed 10 series of CPAP machines, so whether you have an AirCurve or an AirSense 10, that the reservoir actually has an internal gasket seal that can pop out like so. We're just going to remove this and drop that in the water, and then the reservoir. We can also take our hose, which is a climate line electrically heated hose, and drop this into the water as well. Now I want to point out here that hoses that are heated can actually be safely submerged in water, and it's applicable to Philips, Fisher Paykel, DeVelvis, and ResMed. They're all the same. They're meant to be washed in water, so have no fear about getting them wet. Now we've also got our face mask to clean as well, including the headgear, but we will save that for the last step. I'm going to take our cleaning cloth and scrub out the inside of our water reservoir to remove all traces of biofilm. And what biofilm is essentially a layer of bacteria that's growing inside your water reservoir. And it'll be there regardless of whether or not you use distilled water or tap water. The inherent nature of the water reservoir, and the fact that it's moist, it's warm, and there's tiny particles of dust that pass through the CPAP's coarse filter, creates an ideal condition for things to grow in. And you can actually feel for biofilm because it's got this weird slimy texture to the inside. And while it's perfectly normal to have some, that you want to make sure that you clean it out at least on a weekly basis to prevent yourself from getting sick. I'm going to fill our reservoir with some water, shake it around, and then dump it out. Now, there is one thing I want to call out on the ResMed reservoirs that I haven't seen on other brands of CPAPs, in that this reservoir here actually has a vent hole for the heating plate on the bottom of the reservoir. This hole, I believe, is a pressure relief hole, because as you heat the bottom of this reservoir, that the air expands in the bottom side, and that just allows it to equalize the pressure. It doesn't pass through to the inside, it's just the outside. And you'll see that soapy water builds up in here, so when you're rinsing it, you're going to have to put some fresh water through that several times, shake it, and then dump it out to get rid of all these bubbles on the inside. You can clean our gasket and just massage the seal in a very delicate manner. You want to be very careful with the ResMed seals, and I don't know if other brands have the same issue, but the ResMed gasket here is very thin and very delicate, so it doesn't take much to snap one of these things. And my understanding is that you cannot buy just this gasket should you break it from ResMed. You actually have to buy the entire water tub assembly. Next up is the CPAP hose. We're going to take our CPAP cleaning brush, and through the straight end of the hose, we're going to very gently feed the cleaning brush through. Now, I want to caution that when I say gently, I really mean it, because inside these more expensive hoses that have the heating elements as well as pressure and temperature sensors, such as this one here, that if you jam this brush through, that you run the risk of damaging the element or the sensing probes, or even puncturing the sidewall of the hose. So when you're putting this in, you don't need to apply any real force to it. And to help ease the insertion of the cleaning brush, you just want to make the hose as vertical or as straight as possible. So I've fished the hose, or the brush, through the hose, and as you can see here, the brush is all the way at the end. and carefully extract the hose brush out of the hose. Now the other piece that we want to just wash in some soapy water is the actual connecting elbow that goes from the hose to the face mask. Now each of these connecting joints will vary by the type of mask you have, but I just caution that you don't use a cleaning brush on them, because on certain ones, such as the Air Touch or the AirFit F20, that there's a little flap on the inside of these things that are made out of silicone rubber that can be dislodged should you decide to jam a brush through to clean it. All you have to do is just put it in some soapy water, and then just use your fingers and just kind of get some soap through it, and then just give it a good rinse. So here is the face mask. Now in this particular one, it is the F20 Air Touch mask that uses the memory foam seal. So memory foam unfortunately cannot be submersed in water for cleaning, and the only way that I've actually cleaned this is I just use a baby wipe or a CPAP cleaning wipe to wipe the surfaces of the memory foam, and then I set it aside. Now the actual headgear piece with the fabric straps, there's one of two ways that you can clean it. You can submerge this entire piece into the warm soapy water, and the reason why I've done this as a last step is because those with a lot of facial oil or oily hair, you don't want that oil kind of mixing in with your CPAP hose. I'd rather wash this as a last step so that any oils that are in the water just get flushed away. Now the other alternative that I actually prefer more is that I actually like detaching the headgear piece, like the fabric strap, and throwing it into the washing machine with my clothes and washing it. Never throw anything with hard plastic into the washing machine. Those have to be hand washed. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to wash it all together like this. So we're going to let that soak for a little bit. We can rinse our parts. Now this is that little hole I was telling you about earlier, right here. You want to put some clean water through that, and then just kind of swish it around and then dump it out. And finally, I like to rinse the outside of the hose and my cleaning brush and everything with water just to get all the soap off of it. And then one more final rinse just to make sure there's absolutely no soap in there at all. So to get the water out of the hose, you just take your drying cloth and then just pull vertically up. Until all the water comes out. Now for the electrically heated hoses, I want to emphasize that it's important here to pay attention to that little electrical connector, that you just kind of take your cloth and just make sure that it's dry. Don't get brush too hard on it, because it is another fine connector. You don't want to break that, and you certainly don't want that wet when you reconnect it to your machine. Now, with the tiny bit of water that's left in the hose, you can either choose to hang the hose on the cabinet door, for example, like this, to let the hose air dry out. Or in my case, I just hook this back up to the CPAP machine and just start using it like when I go to bed, because as the air flows through this hose, it's going to dry it out anyway, so it's clean water. It's not going to harm you at all. Now I find that a real good way to make drying of the fabric straps quicker is to use a dry cloth to absorb as much water out of the strap as you possibly can. Next up is cleaning the actual CPAP machine itself. Before I wipe it down with the CPAP wipe, I want to emphasize that on almost every CPAP machine that there is a removable filter through an access door, usually on the side or the back. And here you can take out this removable media piece and just replace it with a new one. You can buy these on Amazon for really cheap. And again, I've included a link in the description below where you can buy replacement ones. I'm going to remove that filter and I'm going to replace it with a new one. I'm going to take a CPAP wipe, and you can use baby wipes or even a damp cloth if you will, and just basically wipe down the exterior of your machine. You can even open up the air filter door and you can just even wipe up any of the remnants of the dust that's on the intake. Grabbing a new air filter, I'm going to stick it in to the holder and then snap the lid shut. So as you can see from my video, that cleaning your CPAP equipment is neither difficult nor time consuming and can be accomplished with some basic tools and supplies. Now, my recommendation for cleaning intervals is once per week for the water reservoir, once per day for the mask using some CPAP masks, as in wiping it down, and then cleaning the hose and headgear on a monthly basis. More so if you have either oily hair or live in a dusty environment. And most importantly, make sure that you service your CPAP filter at least once per month. I hope you found this video useful and informative. If you like it, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Links to all the products used in this video are in the description below. Thanks for watching.